guys, it's Mike Sorg here. It's the Sinclair Podcast, and I'm the director of web media here. And today we're going to be talking about the noise of technology and where it's going and maybe where it started, maybe. We'll see where the conversation goes. But let's go around the horn here and everybody give your name and tell everybody what you do here so you're familiar with who we're talking to about this topic today.
I'm Julie Margo. I'm the Reiki Master here at Sinclair. I also work with essential oils and various energy modalities.
Okay. I'm Tirzah Mason. I'm a licensed social worker and a therapist here at Sinclair.
I am Mariangela Marcuso, and I am yoga therapist here at Sinclair. I do the private sessions, one-on-one, and I also do the group sessions and meditations.
Now, we talk a lot about, we're going to be talking a little bit about technology here, but interesting, you know, you don't even own a TV, you said.
No, I don't.
Which is a great contrast.
I don't own a microwave either.
Oh. Wow. Yeah. I couldn't get my cooking done without a microwave. Now this will be interesting since we're sitting across the table. I'm the person that walked into here with about 4 different devices. What, you know, and where does everybody else kind of fit in the technology scale here? Well,
I'm only about 2 steps above a technophobe, actually. I have some computer skills, but the holes in my computer ability are just astoundingly amazing. I mean, I can do some really complicated things on a computer, but then I can't figure out how to put something into a file. So it's that kind of a crazy thing. I have a cell phone, which I wouldn't mind not having, but nowadays it's not possible to do business without a cell phone. But I do like to turn it off and not, have it available at times. Of course, it's not possible because I have to be available to clients, but when I don't, I do enjoy leaving it behind. Other technology... Well, most of the machines in my house are smarter than I am, and I swear when I walk past them, they chuckle and make fun of me.
I see.
So that may just be the beginning of a little dementia paranoia there, but that's been going on for a while.
Maybe you should see somebody about that.
I've got the flashing clock. I don't know how to program it. Things like that, and so when I can't get the TV or the DVD player or whatever to work, I just get a little hysterical. But so yeah, it's not my favorite thing, technology.
Angel?
I kind of am all over the globe. I can relate to what you were saying about the TV VCR remote controls. Really, they baffle me. Exactly. Much more fun. And I'll push something wrong, and the TV just stops, and I don't know what to do. And so I push more things, and I make it worse.
One night with the TV, I was so frustrated. I kept pushing it, and then I realized I was holding my portable phone.
Oh no!
I was like, So it was time to turn everything off and
turn everything off. That's generally what I do with that.
Well, I'm comfortable with technology. I'm comfortable with it. It's what I choose to have in my life. And what I choose to bring in. And television is something that I don't choose to have in my life. And because I don't like how it portrays our culture. I don't like how it programs us for a culture and how we become a nationwide of similarities. And I don't care for that. So I've had this conversation before with other people who are very surprised I don't have a television, but I don't have that common culture. I can have the culture that I choose to have. I can have the differences that appeal to me as being me and not being programmed as to what I should say in the popular context. I am not programmed as to what I should think in the popular context. So I can question, I can go outside the box, but I really do like computers. I really like computers. I am very much involved in computers, and it's not that I live at a computer. I know how to turn off the computer and go and do other things. But yeah, computer is big in my life, but television, I won't buy into that. I won't buy into that culture.
Let's spend a little time on that whole TV conundrum. What is it? The current statistic is something like they don't even count anymore because 99% of the population has at least one television. So this is something that's so much a part of people's lives we can't imagine not having one. And here you are, and I know other people, and at times I get to that point myself of saying, let's get rid of this thing.
Yeah.
Because you made an interesting statement about how it portrays our society. We were just talking a little bit before at another podcast about how the movies especially the superhero movies, maybe a reflection of culture, but also maybe a reaction to culture. So what do you think about that whole notion of what TV actually is giving us, or not giving us, as the case may be?
I'm not a big TV watcher either. We do have televisions in the house. Yes, multiple. But generally after, say, 8 o'clock, I'm not interested in anything that's on. Mm-hmm. The amount of just gratuitous violence, you can't even hardly watch commercials before 8 o'clock mm-hmm. without seeing someone get murdered. Mm-hmm. So I have concerns about what people are getting used to looking at. Yeah. You know, what's being accepted as normal as far as killing people. Mm-hmm. And I've read some interesting statistics, which I apologize for not having available in the front of my brain, about the number of women as opposed to men who are...
Yeah, and that's part of the part that I protest highly, is the portrayal of the female image. Mm-hmm. I don't want to buy into that. I don't think that should be portrayed as our image. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, it's not as healthy or as positively directed as we think. It's so liberating, and I don't feel that it is for me. And I don't want that portrayed in front of me as to having I have to strive for this. I have to strive for showing my body parts off instead of what I truly am in character and personality and what I might know. I don't want that in my home. I don't want that exposed to me, and I would wish that not to be exposed to other women to have that. And of course, it is everywhere you look. And then the entertainment of women being put in danger as a form of entertainment that is so accepted. This is entertainment. I just say, no, not for me. I'm not going to buy that as entertainment, as a normal part of life. It's not part. Again, I don't buy that. We could do better. We could do better than that.
And it seems like there's been a kind of dearth of development in what's possible with television. And here's a medium that's in everyone's homes, and the possibilities are amazing, and yet we end up with reality shows that aren't real. We end up with gratuitous violence. We end up with, amazing profanity. I was watching a show the other night at about 10 o'clock. Now, this is not prime time, but 10 o'clock, in the summertime, children are still up and watching television. And the show is an adult show. It's, adult in the XXX adult, but adult content, and a couple of the characters were using profanities just coming right out, of their mouths, and like many adults will do. But I thought, wow, there was a time when there was no way you could get anywhere near that language on television. Not even on the adult shows. There seem to be no standards anymore at all about that.
Well, especially on like FX, I know is notorious for this. You can say the S word after 10 o'clock. I think in certain instances you can say the F word. I think there's a lot of networks that choose not to. So I guess that's been open. But again, that's cable versus broadcast. Right,
this was a cable TV show. There's not a whole lot on regular broadcasting anymore, except these ridiculous... and I'm showing my prejudice at reality shows that, of course, are scripted, that are not real, and demonstrate, just really inappropriate behavior of people toward each other. Which it's like, and the most egregious one, of course, is the Jerry Springer show. Astounds me that someone with his intelligence would put that nonsense on. But, this is like the modern equivalent of the freak show, and going to the arena and watching, the Lions Eat the Christians, It's like, this is what, we're doing, and it appeals to something in us, probably to the baser parts of our personalities. But, there are some major challenges with television, and I appreciate that, the choice that you made.
And one last thing I'd like to say is that when you turn the television off, you have so much time for yourself to be, to think, to do all the things that you say I never have time for. Boy, do you have time for them. Because even if you have a television on in the background, you still have to look. You're still auditorily connected in. And it just takes up that much more brain space of where you can't focus here in your present moment to get something.
And that speaks to the noise of technology issue, and that is that probably the majority of people on television sets do turn them on, and they're on all day. Even when no one's watching them, there's no purposeful activity with the television or interaction with the television. It's just on all the time. So there's that layer of background noise, all the background noise all the time. And if there's not television in the home, then there's music. You can't go anywhere without music following you. I went to get my car filled up at a get-go recently, and there was music blasting, and outside. I was like, what do we need music there for? And I didn't get to choose the station either. It wasn't the music I wanted to listen to. You go to any kind of a restaurant now, unless it's one of the finest restaurants that you're going to pay a lot of money for, fine dining, and you're going to be assaulted with music. And it does feel like an assault. Mm-hmm. You can barely talk to the person sitting next to you because of the level of music. What is that about? Why do we feel like we need to be constantly stimulated and constantly have input?
It feels like we're afraid of silence.
Yes, that's a good point.
Or are we drowning out the noise? Like, we live, I live in the city, so there's a lot of background noise going on. I know at night sometimes I can hear the train going by.
That's a nice noise.
I like.
So is this a replacement for something constant like that as opposed to crickets when I was growing up?
Well, we don't have as many crickets as we used to have because people are spraying chemical over the lawns and killing all the crickets.
That is true.
There's a dearth of that kind of noise. People used to think the country was a quiet place. The country's actually pretty noisy with all the noise at night and the wildlife, crickets. And
one way I look at it sometimes is because it is a stimulation for the nerve centers of our mind, that it just becomes an addictive sense. That without it, we're like, I need that stimulation back, and there's no real valid reason other than we just need it to satisfy our craving that we're so used to it. It doesn't always.
Yeah, I think there is a dimension of that, and certainly, here at Sinclair, we try to help people find balance in their lives, and you're working on that, obviously, as a Reiki master and a yoga teacher, and me as a therapist. We're interested in helping people find balance and set appropriate boundaries in their lives. And so, what kind of balance do we have when we're constantly stimulating ourselves? You get in the car, turn on the radio. You go in the house, turn on music, or turn on the television.
I know it's been tough for me because I've been in the case that I don't want to listen to the radio. If I am going to listen to anything, it's going to be I plug my phone in and I can listen to my channel, my music, a show that I want to listen to. Right. Not just. I think a lot of people take these in, much like TV. Like we accept those messages in. It's like, okay, I'm tired of hearing the tracks that this company wants me to because they own half the channels in town. And there's a lot more options. Now let's transition for that. One of the statistics going on these days, one of the battles is a lot of people are turning off the TV because now TV has competition. It's not just we had TV, we had 3 channels, we're good. Right. Now there's video games, there's the internet, and whatever you're doing on the internet, be it video games again, be it chatting, be it video chatting with your friend in Italy or whatever. And there's a lot of selection going on there. Do you think that lends to receiving better stuff when you have that choice? Like I'm deciding to turn the mainstream radio off and listen to the music I want to listen to, or listen to an informational podcast. That's how I learn a lot of things about what I do in my profession, because I'm generally interested in it. Is that better, or am I just replacing it with a finer quality noise?
Well, that's a good question, and certainly, I think it does result in other choices for people, and the more technologically capable they are, the more choices they have. I don't have so many of those, but we're still in the same box here. We're in the box of stimulation. We're in the box of listening, and so much of that is a passive activity. Some of it's obviously active if we're choosing something, we want to learn something, and we may, be interacting with that. But still, we're in that box of we've got to be plugged into something. We've got to be having the stimulation. What happened to silence? What happened to being able to sit still and listen to the still small voice? Does anybody know what that is?
And that might be another reason why we seek out so much noise, is so we don't have to listen to that. Because as soon as we hear it, we want to shut it out and direct it and distract it and push it. But yeah, the computer, again, in the same box, but you can choose. You can at least choose and filter out more of the things that what might direct you into an area where that you personally just feel that's not what I want to know about.
I think you do get more choice with the computer. We're getting more and more choice with visual media like television and streaming of those kinds of things. YouTube, which I think is a wonderful invention because it allows people to create and to not have to conform to the standards of somebody else, and it's just some fabulous things on YouTube. And so
even towards the television, like YouTube, I myself, I've canceled my cable. I put up the antenna, so I have I'm amazed. I have like 26 channels in the area, the HD stuff, just with an antenna, free. I don't have to pay for it. But I don't feel jilted when they have something on that I don't agree with, and it's like, I'm paying for this, really. Right. And then I subscribe to, like, I have Netflix and Hulu on my Xbox, so I can select those couple things. Maybe still, I'm kind of weeding out this stuff and not just getting what they spoon feed me. Right. But
well, as a therapist, I do watch television, not a lot. Usually at the end of the day when I'm mostly brain dead and there's not much energy for anything else, and I can't read, which I prefer to do. But I watch TV and I watch movies. My husband and I are all movie buffs. We watch at least 2 movies a week, sometimes more. And we, as therapists, my husband's also a therapist, we are interested in movies and we're interested in these shows because of the way they portray society, because we're dealing with people and the metaphors they live in. So that's where the metaphors are. And so knowing whether this reflects or is a reaction to what's going on is important. And I don't watch anything. I do make choices about what I want to watch, and there's a lot of dreck on television that we don't deal with. But I'm finding that there are some shows on the cable networks that actually are pretty good. They're well written, they're well acted, they bring up interesting problems that people have to solve, and so I enjoy them just as entertainment, but also as a kind of fertile ground for developing metaphors in the work that I do with people.
Yeah. So you kind of bring it down to the topic of being passive, as like if we're going back to the TV topic where you're just passive and everything's being fed into you, and you just take it in, and that then becomes part of how you express yourself because you've been like almost trained that way by the exposure. But then if you have the choice of what you want to include in, it's not so much do you agree with it or not, because you can always investigate things you don't agree with to know about them, but you are having a more active choice in how you go about doing such a thing. And if you question something, you can find out answers that may agree with your questions or not agree with your questions, and so you can stay very active in your life, and that way instead of just sitting back and being passive.
Right. The passive, it actually interests me. It's been kind of a frustration with me because I kind of say, hey, you can cut the cord, not pay the cable companies, and get Netflix, get whatever online. And I was told, no, I'm going to pay for cable because it's just easier. I don't have to worry about what they have. All the stuff's already there. It's being provided to me. And
that's presented as a positive thing.
That's presented as a positive thing. And I'm like, and I have like several people arguing with it. I do a tech show aside from this. And then this has been like kind of a battle back and forth because of what's going on in that sector. And it's like, really, like you're okay with not choosing what you want to watch and just dealing with it on their schedule. I have DVR. Okay, so you're going to pay them $15 more versus this idea. And another one, I heard somebody else on the matter saying, well, if I didn't have kids, I wouldn't have cable. I would just get Netflix.
I will speak to that.
We have a winner here.
I do have kids, and I don't have cable. Very, very purposefully. We have not had cable TV since 1996.
That's ironic, since that's when I got cable TV.
How about that? I have been through periods where I am just the meanest mother on the planet. I can't believe we don't even have cable. And it was very much by choice, because yes, there are 500 channels, and oh my,
500 channels of garbage.
Yeah, exactly.
You could do the parental settings, but they got to be so complicated on those things.
Absolutely, and I'm going to pay money so I can have stress. I choose not to.
That's like buying a loaf of bread and then cutting 3/4 of it away because you don't like it, because there's only this little bit you want. Why would you want to pay for that? If you're not going to use it, why would you want to?
I found myself at the point I was paying cable because there's one program I wanted to watch every week that was live, and I can't get it online anywhere. And I was like, it's not worth me paying you to get this one program. I'll find another way to watch it, or go with that. Isn't that worth it to me?
And I've been at people's houses with cable, and you at the clicker for
People
about
are
45
surfing.
minutes
People are
trying to
surfing,
find something,
trying to
and there's
find
nothing on.
Mm-hmm.
And then, 500 channels, and still.
It is interesting to go to somebody else's house. I see that. Like,
Yeah.
I've got the cord twice now.
Uh-huh.
And going, I've actually been babysitting across the street, and like they have DirecTV, and it's like, wow, this is what this was like.
I love the analogy you just made of cutting the cord. It's like when you cut the cord, then somebody is finally, born and out there and ready to take responsibility for their lives. And,
I'm a big boy TV watcher.
The thing that bothers me the most about television, obviously the violence. I mean, I think the statistic is by the time someone grows up, they've watching from all the way up through childhood and teen years, they've watched something like way over 95,000 acts of violence. That, and we can't imagine that doesn't have an impact on people. What we see becomes a part of who we are, and so that is important. But the thing that bothers me the most, I think, is the advertising and the implicit messages in advertising, which is basically that if you don't have this thing, there's something wrong with you. And so, how many times in every show, every 5 minutes on, some of these stations, every 5 minutes you've got a new commercial, and it's telling you that you're inadequate in some way.
Right.
And if you have to buy this product in order to be adequate.
Or you're sick.
Or you're sick.
Or you're hungry.
Not pretty enough.
Or you're fat.
Yes.
Or you're hungry.
yes, you have to eat. And, and have you ever noticed that when they film the food, it's always crisper and more high def and prettier than anything else on TV?
It's also made of plastic.
Yeah, well, it's beautiful. And it's like, boy, you get hungry, So here you are, if people are watching TV at 10 o'clock at night, worst time in the day to eat anything. And all of these
now we have the
commercials.
concept of the fourth meal.
There you go. Right, the fourth meal.
Right.
Because I need another meal.
That's right. So and so people are, and so then we know if people are staying up late, the later people stay up, the more problem they have with obesity. Well, because they're watching television when they stay up, and they're going into the kitchen because they're being stimulated by all these delicious looking foods. So that's a real problem. And so we watch TV and then the commercial goes off, and constantly turning it off, but it's still there. And
my wife has a weird issue. Maybe somebody here has some insight on this. That's going to be a personal issue. It's
okay to talk about your wife's issue.
She doesn't listen to this stuff.
Yeah, but her friends might.
But one of the arguments we had when we started getting DVRs was I was like, okay, good, we can just watch a program. I can skip the commercials.
Right.
She likes the commercials. She likes watching commercials. So for some reason, she likes the experience of commercials.
Well, some of them are
Back
quite
in my
clever.
old television watching days, like years ago, I used to like the commercials. I didn't like the shows. So.
I like some of them
This
are
is like many
entertaining,
Some of
but
them are quite
the
clever.
first couple of times you see them,
Yeah,
but
I've seen enough of them.
yeah, it just boggles my mind.
Yeah.
So
I have gone on YouTube and watched commercials.
I did too. I did too.
There are
To
some
be
very
honest,
clever commercials. I love the one. And the problem is the more clever they are, and the more I like them.
everybody's raising their hand.
The less I remember what they're advertising. That's
Right.
the thing. So you wonder, how does this really have an advertising effect when you can't remember what the item is being advertised? But there's the one, I think it's an insurance company of some kind, and they show somebody helping someone, and then someone's watching them help that person, and then they help the next person, and then it goes on, and it's sort of like the random act of kindness kind of thing. And it's really a moving and neat commercial. And I hate the fact that it's associated with an insurance company, because we all know what that really means. But it's a neat idea and a neat concept. So some of them are quite cool, entertaining, very well done, and have a really good message. But the majority of them are telling us that we shouldn't be satisfied with ourselves, that we're not okay unless we have this product.
And what do you think about, I'll start with television, but computers and phones come into this also, is the art of conversation. Because to me, television kind of like destroyed the family art of conversation, because it had to be in the background and intruded on meals. In my family, I always remember that when we would have holidays, the TV had to be on, and then everybody's attention went there, and you no longer were sitting together having your conversations as television got stronger in the households. And then computers started to bring that back. And now cell phones, of course, have brought it to an art form.
Again, I'm very mean. No phones at the table. No TV in the dining room. Dinner is at the dining room table.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the conversation is me going, well, what did you do at school today? Nothing. But we are.
If you're not going to let us watch TV, we're not giving you.
That's it. That's it.
I can't tell you how many times I went out to dinner with my wife and we're both playing on our phones until our food comes, and to the point where I started recognizing it and says, "You need to put that down. I'm going to put that down." Or she reminds me, and it's like, we need to. What did happen today? But then on the other hand, I think it's a toss-up because you're also more connected. We're messaging each other through the day. Mm-hmm. I've had this interesting line of sending her pictures of, hey, I'm hanging out under a bridge because I was at a meeting last night. And it's like, we're both busy. She's starting a cafe. I'm doing my work. And it's, so we don't get much time with each other. Right. So at least we get to connect that way.
But then does that make it an excuse not to have time with each other, though? Sometimes I think of that, Sometimes
it can be.
Think of that kind of an angle.
It can definitely be an excuse.
Well, you see the two kids sitting in the back seat, texting each other, and they're sitting right next to each other.
No. My wife and I have texted each other in the same house, if not across the room from each other. Usually somebody else is in the room, and that, hey,
I think it's taking laziness to an art form.
Well, yeah, that can be too.
But what we're saying is that it's not a black and white issue. It's not technology is bad and we should hate it, or technology is wonderful and should supersede everything else. It's an issue of balance. How do we balance these things in our lives? And they're so seductive and so compelling that it's very difficult to balance. If we say, okay, on the one hand, I get all this sexy, interesting, fabulous stuff out here that's attracting my attention. And on the other hand, I have silence with me just sitting there twiddling my thumbs. What am I going to choose?
Yeah.
Most people are not going to sit and be quiet when they've got that choice.
Plus a little bit of maybe peer pressure. Like, what do you mean you're not on Twitter? What do you mean you're not on Facebook? To the point where most of my family is on Facebook now, which is nice, but because now they're able to connect where maybe they didn't before.
It's easy to share pictures because I don't mail pictures.
Well, we've got to ask ourselves though, what is this? It's fine if family and friends and close people you already have established relationships with are scattered all over the world, and this is a way of keeping in touch with them. That's a wonderful thing. If I look on a webcam, I can see my grandson, and he can see me. That's fabulous, and I like that. But what does it mean when someone has 9,000 friends on Facebook? Come on.
Yeah,
these aren't friends.
Yeah.
What do we understand what the word friend means? Yeah. Do we do the kind of work that it takes to be a friend? Mm-hmm. It's not about pushing a button to send an animated birthday greeting to somebody who you don't really even know.
Or plus one now.
Yeah. Right. So have we lost, as you said, conversational ability? We lost the ability to sit and interact with each other and to look in each other's eyes and to one of the things that I've discovered, and we've discovered this, unfortunately, we had some conflict in a group over difficult interpretations of emotions in email. This is a major problem because human beings rely on nonverbal communication to understand the emotional context of a conversation. And when you're doing that on email, you don't have that data. And little emoticons are not going to replace that data. And most people don't use them because they're stupid.
Or they use emoticons, they make whatever feeling you had towards the information personified.
Exactly. Yeah, right. But so we had situations where things were misinterpreted, and when we don't know what the emotional content is, we tend to project our own content, and that's usually wrong. We're making assumptions.
That happens in friendships. That's happened in work to me.
Oh, everybody. So that's a major danger, and then you've got to clean up that mess.
Right.
So that's a problem. So we've got these technologies that then can give us wonderful things. Doctors being able to share information across the country at a fingertip, which can save somebody's life. Those are important things. And in many, many ways technology benefits us. But there are also ways that technology has destroyed some of the things that we're not even very good at anyway. And then we have to work at to be good at. It's so much easier not to do that work when we've got technology instead.
I think you and I had this conversation a couple weeks ago. I'm somebody that's very involved in the social media community, you can call it, here in Pittsburgh. I mean, I have my friends. I play softball on Fridays with a bunch of friends that I met them all on Twitter. There's a whole team of people I met on Twitter, talked, and met everybody eventually, and it's been great. I mean, I'm hanging with people that I never would have met in person. But I don't talk to my neighbors. Everybody keeps to themselves. if it wasn't for my father-in-law, who's very outgoing, I wouldn't be talking with the neighbors across the street who are great. But there's a lot of that. People are just closed in, and you don't have the neighborhood. But I know hundreds of people around the city. So
physical neighborhoods no longer perform the function of providing a place where we belong, a place where we can grow and where we can be accountable to each other. And that's a problem, because there's not much accountability anymore. And that's part of what we all complain about with our government. There's no accountability, there's no transparency. Well, we've created systems that make that happen. So maybe what we can do is just, in order to reward ourselves with some technology, say, okay, I'm not going to do that until I go out and talk to my neighbor. Yeah. And I'm not going to do that until I take a walk with my dog and say hi to 5 people. Then I'll let myself go on Facebook and say hi to people that I haven't even seen in my life before. But send me birthday greetings, as if they knew me. So.
And I always feel so weird when you get that. It's like, oh, it's so-and-so's birthday. Are you seeing your Facebook stream? Oh, everybody's saying happy birthday. Oh, I didn't say anything. It's like 9 o'clock at night. Now I'm just one of the Me Too's.
There was a fellow on NPR talking the other day about that very thing, and he said he had, I came kind of into the report a little bit late. He was talking about how he had something like 5,000, 9,000 people, friends on his Facebook, and he decided to do a little experiment. He announced that it was his birthday, and he got a couple hundred happy birthdays. And 3 weeks later, he announced it again. It was his birthday, and he got somewhat less than 200, but a whole bunch of birthday greetings. And only maybe a couple of people, maybe 3 people, said, hey, didn't you just do this? Okay. Well, he did it again a couple weeks later. Okay. And he still got about 20 of the same people wishing him a happy birthday. Okay. Over a 6-week period, 3 times he had a birthday, and about 20 people said happy birthday to him. And at that point, maybe a bunch of people dropped out, and half a dozen people said, hey, you can't have a birthday every day, kind of thing. No one was offended by it, because nobody spent any money, and gave him birthday presents for each time. But he said he knew it was kind of a jerky thing to do, but he did it because he wanted to demonstrate to himself and to everybody else, because he was writing a book or something, that, what is real relationship? What is real friendship when these computers, Facebook can just take over the responsibility of really knowing what's going on in someone's life. And really being present to that. And so the person who was interviewing him asked him, would he be sad if his birthday came and nobody wished him a happy birthday, online? And he said no. He said he would be sad if his son didn't wish him a happy birthday, if his wife, if his father, if his best friend didn't do that. But he wouldn't be upset if his, quote, friends on Facebook didn't do that. So I thought it was an interesting idea that, how much these are shortcuts, and sometimes they're the only way we can keep contact with certain people, and so they're precious in that way. But they also tend to cheapen human relationships if we let them. So we have to be careful.
And deal with other people in text as opposed to seeing them in their face. Yeah. So, but maybe that's changing. We have the new, the Google has their Google Hangout I've been experimenting with, where you're talking, it's all video, and whoever's talking pops up, and it's very one-to-one. We're watching television programs with this thing in the background now, and it's like everybody's in the room.
Virtual meeting.
Yeah, virtual meetings is another interesting thing.
But here's the whole idea of the avatar. Second Life. This whole world where you can be the person you want to be. It's not real, okay? And you don't have to really account to being that real person in real life. You can, make that happen in another life. And then these meetings, these virtual meetings, you're sending an avatar to the meeting. What does that mean? That seems very skitsy to me, frankly.
I think you're traveling further and further away from the human experience that way. Even though like we say, there's so much good that can come out of it, when you really get stuck in it without being able to get a break from it, and again know what enough is. You miss the human experience. You just miss the warmth of what really goes on a one-to-one basis. Like you say, you don't have the connection to your neighbors. And the only thing that really brings us together then under those circumstances is a tragedy. And then we are around each other and begin to have a contact with each other, but yet we still don't know each other. So it's kind of sad. I think everybody needs more yoga.
And more Reiki, and more psychotherapy.
There you are.
But we're kind of dating ourselves, right? Because here we are. You're what, in your 50s? I'm closing out the 50s. What are you?
46.
46.
Yeah.
And Mike,
30.
the mere Ute, is 30.
I'm the Ute.
And you're the Ute. And, so you grew up with it.
I'm the Nintendo generation. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I've kind of followed along and evolved with this as it went. I went from 3 channels growing up for most of my life. Again, 96 we got cable TV, and even there was satellite. He still doesn't have cable TV out there. But and I've kind of followed along the curve and saw a career in it personally. And I think maybe I wouldn't be so involved with this if I was, I don't know, a mechanic or something. Maybe it would just be a passing interest. But a lot of people, kids, texting is the thing. And
my kids won't pick up the phone when I call them.
Yeah.
I will ring their phone.
Say,
and
just text me.
If I text them right after I hang it up, they respond.
What do they say that's about for them? What is the attraction of texting versus picking up the phone and having a conversation? Do they say what that is? Why?
It's easier. Yeah. That's what they keep saying.
What makes it easier? Do you have a sense of what makes it easier?
I think it might be a little bit of a barrier for that. Especially, think about, how old are your kids?
16 through 27.
That's the perfect age range, actually. But you got to think about when you were 16. How emotionally confused were you? How guarded were you with stuff? To be able, I know when I was 16, the chat rooms were just coming up. The ICQ, AOL chat, stuff like that, and that really exploded in my generation. I think
it made you feel safer in those interactions.
It made you feel safer. It made you you had that wall instead of okay, if I say the wrong thing now, especially with the girlfriends, if I say the wrong thing in a wrong way, that turns into a whole other thing, and I don't want to go there. Especially when you were still trying to figure out how to interact with people in that age range. I think that's.
But even though you're still not safe because there can be so many, projections of emotion in there,
but
it's still not that right in that real time. You feel safer.
But you have that time period to think about what you're saying, to put a little more thought into. Okay, how do I want to approach this? That's why it was always interesting. Even in my work, it was a little bit of that. Okay, text them versus a call. Okay, I can be a little more tactile about how I approach the situation and think out my steps versus maybe a little more emotional on the call, especially if things aren't going well.
One of the personal traps I had with texting is I too don't want to answer the phone. I would rather text, and because for me, in my silent little world that I live in, that's an intrusion. If I need to talk to someone and they're going to just go on and they're intruding into my life and I can't get them off the phone and I don't want to be rude and I still want to stay in contact, texting is a lot better.
But you just pointed out one of the problems that we have when we use these easier systems. We don't learn the skills we need to be able to handle those kinds of conversations.
In a way, it's kind of like you've already given them a chance with that, and it's just like it's not getting through. It's not working on a level.
But I also think there's another side of that, because I've seen a lot of people that I think left their own devices in the world. I actually have a friend that was agoraphobic, and he dealt with that and friended a lot of people. Friended us through school, and I introduced him to a lot of people, and he did a lot of stuff online. And I think a lot of that was very therapeutic to him, to a point where he's fine. He's a truck driver. He can walk into Walmart and not have a problem now.
So approaching people on that safer level allowed him to feel comfortable enough with people to see them live.
Exactly. I think there is a little point of learning to deal with people on this level, and maybe you can move up to there. I think some people also have a little bit of prejudice when they meet somebody by how they look, their size, or gender, whatever. One thing I think that's interesting that we find on Twitter and so many other social methods is those barriers are gone. You'll be very surprised by who you finally meet.
Right.
We have these blog meetups, and they're like, oh, so you're at so and so.
Well, the movie example of that was You've Got Mail. Okay, the two people are interacting over the computer, and they fall in love, and they discover they have a lot in common, but they're actually interacting with each other live and don't know it, and they couldn't stand each other because there were all kinds of stereotypic ideas about who they were.
Strips that away, you see who they really are.
Yeah. So I think that was the whole message there.
Or did you find their avatar that they want to be?
Well, yeah. and so maybe when we create an avatar, we create a possibility for ourselves of something to grow into. So we can hide behind an avatar and not accept ourselves and let people know who we really are, or we can provide that as something that might help us grow into something we want to be. So basically what we're saying is that technology, like every other human endeavor on the planet, is fraught with possibility and fraught with danger. And so we have to think carefully about who we are when we're there and who other people are when they're there.
I think that's a good point to end it on. Thank you, ladies, for joining me today. This is great.
Thanks.
You guys have sessions here with
the yoga's on Tuesday morning, group 11 to 12, and then in the evening we have a teen group 7:30 to 8:30, and Thursday is 7:30, and meditations rotate once a month on the third Sunday from 1 to 2.
Okay. You have anything you want to promote you're doing here?
Sure. Reiki sessions are available on Tuesdays and Fridays between 9 and 5.
There you go. All our information updated will be at seclair.com.
Right.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.